hello and welcome back to hersport.ie, Ireland's only media platform dedicated to women in sport. So whether you're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram or Facebook, be sure and drop us a follow so you can stay up to date with all the latest action. Today we're delighted to be joined by Nicole Drought, who is widely regarded as one of Ireland's top racing drivers. Thanks for joining us, Nicole. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm good. I have a cup of tea beside me and I'm sitting in my simulator. So
Well,
yeah, and
excellent.
it's the weekend, so I can't complain.
Bit of a rest. So I suppose starting off, we'll go back to where it all began, I suppose. So growing up in Tipperary, where did your love for sport come from?
I grew up around cars. My father has a car business and he rallied when I was growing up. So I spent every one of my weekends as a kid hanging out with ditches and going to service and watch my dad rallying. And I think I was like a chief inspector of the car when he came in from each stage and stuff, just to make sure there was no damage. So I basically, that was my how I grew up, and I just had such a love for the sport, and there was nothing else that I wanted to do other than drive. And yeah, luckily enough, I don't think at the time that I thought I would get as far as I have. So I'm very lucky, but that's where it all started. And thanks to my dad, I don't know whether to say thanks to my dad or to give out to him, but yeah, that's how I got dragged in.
Perfect. So that's where your love for the sport kind of came from. Did you go into that kind of straight away, or did you hang back for a while, I suppose?
Well, I watched him rallying, and at the time, and it still is, it was a very expensive sport to get into. We didn't really know what the entry level was, so usually kids from I think 6 upwards start in karting. So we didn't really know that at the time, and we bought a kart when I was about 10 or 12. We didn't even know much about the kart that we had, but I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to go out and drive, and there's a local track here in my town. It's closed now, but we used to go out there on odd Sunday and just tear around the kart. So I was happy as Larry just to get to drive. But I suppose in compared to other drivers, I was very late starting, so I didn't start until 2015. So there was a lot to learn in a short space of time. I'm still learning loads. So I was kind of thrown in the deep end without much experience. But yeah, if I had done the karting route, I probably would have been a lot more better for today. But yeah, I was relatively late starting, but that was just because of lack of knowledge, I suppose, and lack of money, because we just thought we were going to throw ourselves straight into rallying. But I got rallying and circuit racing are two different disciplines within motorsport. So rallying is all on back roads and stuff like this, and what I do is track racing, so it's mainly on circuits.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. Would it be fair to say that racing is a big expense and a massive time commitment too, I'd say?
Yeah, I mean, it's very expensive. Like when I started, I thought, and probably everybody thinks the same. When you get into a car, all you need to do is go in and drive it, and you know that's all there is to it. But there's so much more to it, and you need to have test days, so to practice and set the car up and get yourself comfortable within the car and stuff like that. So there's a huge expense to it, and I suppose that's what probably kind of stopped me starting off into it. It still is very, very expensive, but yeah, it's unfortunately it's an expensive sport. But yeah, I'm lucky enough to have just I had great sponsors behind me, and that's what got me going.
Yeah, and you're a Motorsport Ireland ambassador as well as an International Sean Edwards Foundation, the 20 by 20 advocate, and representing Formula Female 2, among others. So, how important are these initiatives to you? And do you yourself feel you have an important role to inspire the next generation?
Yeah, I mean it's very important because I suppose motorsport is kind of a minority sport, and as well as that, women are the minority within the minority sport. So it's very important to have those initiatives behind me, and they're a great drive for me as well, and they're very supportive. So it means a lot to be behind them and to be involved and get to know other sports and women and athletes within those initiatives as well. It's incredible the amount of athletes we have in the country, but it's very important within, especially for motorsport, just because I suppose there's kind of a view that motorsport is very male dominated and there's not that many women within the sport. When I was growing up, my hero was probably Sebastian Loeb, and the next person that could, if someone said it, was there someone female that, Rosemary Smith was always going to come to mind, but there are not that many women. Well, there weren't, especially when I was growing up within the sport. So that's where, the importance comes in, that me and other females as well get involved in these initiatives and just show the younger girls coming up through that, it's not just a boys' sport and girls compete too. So yeah, it's very important to get the sport out there and also drag more girls into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great to see that change finally kind of coming through. Rosemary Smith, you mentioned there, one of your heroes growing up. You worked with her recently enough. Can you tell us a bit about that experience and what was that like for you to work with her?
Yeah, so I'd actually met her for lunch a couple of years ago just because I wanted to meet her.
Yeah.
And she's absolutely amazing woman, and you can just see that fight within her. And she would have needed that fight back when she was rallying, because I'm sure she really had to put up with a lot of crap within the sport. But yeah, she's an incredible lady, and getting to work with her that time for a Tesco ad. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, she arrived in this, she was like a proper celebrity, a big fur coat, and she's so elegant and so fierce, and she's just absolutely an amazing woman. But we got to go out on track with each other, which was pretty special. And I was driving a Porsche and she was driving her Imp, her old rally Imp. And, we were told, go out and follow Rosemary and kind of pass each other around and stuff like this. But I was in total awe. Like when we went out on track, she was throwing the car around, the car was sideways, and I was coming in behind her going, oh my God, this is brilliant. At 80 odd years of age, she's still got that drive, and yeah, she was just incredible. I mean, she's a brilliant woman.
I'd say so. She sounds amazing even just to work with. So we were talking about the next generation, and I suppose that includes names like Alex Colby and Roisin Sweeney, among others. And it's great to see, as we said, the women coming out in force. But how does it feel to know that maybe you would be someone's Rosemary Smith now, that you'd be a role model to other people coming up the ranks?
I don't know if I can compare myself to Rosemary Smith. Yeah, I mean, look, it would be brilliant if that was the case, and if that's the reason that it drives more girls in, then I'm absolutely for it. Yeah, it's just like, there's a young girl I know, Holly Dunyan, and her dad would be messaging me quite a bit, and she thinks that it's brilliant to watch, what I'm doing at the moment. She's a young girl in karts, and I suppose she's looking at her future, and as her dad says, she's looking at what I'm doing, and she thinks, I want to do that, and I want to compete in those championships. And that's really something special, that you're kind of giving that to young girls as well. So I hope, I don't know if I'll be like Rosemary Smith, but yeah, if I can get more girls in, and I suppose inspire girls like Holly Dunyan as well to keep going in their career, then that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, I suppose. So you raced Formula One on cars on two occasions. So in Mondello Park in 2019, and Irish Expo John Campion's Jordan 193 at Palm Beach. And what was that? That was last February. What was that like for you? And can you give us an insight into what that felt like?
Yeah, so the first Formula One car in August 2019, that literally came up a couple of weeks before, I'd say even a week before the event was to take place. So I knew John was coming with his car, and I had an event actually that weekend, but I planned just to even go up and watch, because this is going to be an excellent moment. I mean, the car was driven by Derek Daly, and he was going to be there as well. But yeah, literally about a week beforehand, I got the call to say, you're going to be jumping into the car, and it was such a shock leading up to that whole week. I was sitting in work there and I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I knew that James Rowe was going to be driving the car as well, and he was looked after by John. So yeah, it was a pretty special weekend, and I'll never forget that day. I mean, it was so nerve-wracking, and we were standing in the garage looking at the car and sitting in the car and making sure that I actually fit in it. And then leading up to it, my heart is actually beating now thinking about it. Yeah, when the car got started up, just the roar of it was just so intimidating. But and everyone kept telling me, it was a really hard car to actually take off. It wants to cut out and to give it loads of throttle and stuff like this, but not burn the clutch at the same time. So yeah, luckily I took off without stalling in front of everybody in Mondello Park, and yeah, I did my laps, and it was just incredible. And on my final warm down lap, all the marshals were out clapping, and everyone on the pit wall was out clapping. So it was a very, very special day that I won't forget. And I thought, I never thought I'd get to drive a Formula One car, let alone two. So next thing, John gets in contact, and he said, "Look, we're going to have this track day in February in Florida. Do you want to come out?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, whatever day it is, I'll be there."
No
So
hesitation.
yeah, if I just swim out there or drive out there, definitely, I was going to get there. So yeah, and then he bought a Jordan Formula One car. And yeah, I arrived out that day, and I just describe it like a movie set. When I arrived out on track, the car is parked sideways, and the sun is splitting the stones and just shining, beaming off the car. And yeah, it was just absolutely incredible. I mean, geez, I'm so thankful to John for what he did for me and the opportunities he gave me. And yeah, two very special days.
Yeah, I'm sure ones you'll never forget. So you're sitting there in your simulator. What was lockdown like for you? I suppose while others were making banana bread and doing challenges, what were you up to?
I never got on the banana bread anyway. That didn't really appeal to me. I did lots of cooking, all right, but yeah, not banana bread. But yeah, 2020 was a huge step up for me because obviously John got on board and sponsored me for the year, and I was going to be driving a Porsche, which is a huge step up from anything I had driven. So trying to prepare for that and not knowing when the season was going to begin was quite tough. I mean, we were supposed to start in April, and we ended up not starting until maybe mid-June or July. So I didn't know any of the tracks in the UK. I only knew maybe one track in the UK that we were going to be racing, and the rest of them were all brand new to me. So from there, I think the challenge was to get to know the track. So luckily I got a simulator just before lockdown, and I just spent that time driving the tracks, trying to get to know the tracks, trying to get a feel for the car, which was quite difficult in a sim, but just get some sort of idea so that when I landed on the track for a test or for a race, that it wasn't completely new to me and like a shocker sitting and going, okay, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Or what way does the track go? So that was a huge help. And yeah, I spent the time getting fit and driving on the sim and learning tracks. So really, lockdown actually helped me. I know it was tough for some people, but it was good time for me to sit down and learn and yeah, just get ready for the season. And yeah, it worked out quite well.
Yeah, and you said it there that the fitness is a huge part of racing. What will kind of be the main goals that you'd be setting yourself? Like, is it mainly core work, or would it be what would be the most important?
Yeah, like core work is very, very important. Feeling fit and strong when you get into the car. Like we would do the races are an hour long, so you'd be doing a half an hour stint and then swapping for the next driver. So there's a lot of concentration involved, and there's about 20 or 30 cars on track at the same time, all wanting to be first. And it's really intense. You need to keep that focus for that entire time. You can't let it drop. The car it's so fast as well. And then also something new to me, we had communication systems. So within my helmet, the team were able to talk to me, and I was able to talk back and give feedback about the car, and all of that was really, really intense. So just feeling fit and strong, and being able to sit in the car for that amount of time and drive as fast as I can, and have the strength as well in your arms and your legs, because you're hitting the brakes at such pressure, and you're holding onto the steering wheel quite intensely as well. So there's a lot of factors to it, and people might think it's just sitting in the car, but it's really intense.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say, like you were saying there about the rush of driving it, but I'd say it's very mentally kind of draining, I suppose, as well. So 2020 was a year of firsts for yourself. You got your first ever time to start a GT race and signed a 3-year deal with John Campion's CJJ Motorsports. So like what was your highlight of 2020, I suppose?
I suppose winning in Brick Car had to be my highlight. We went into the season knowing that it was going to be tough for me, stepping up into such a fast car and a GT car as well, a sports car. It was going to be tough, and we had a challenge ahead of us, but I just put the head down, and even though there was some really tough days and there was a lot of really hard learning to do, we got a couple of wins, a couple of podiums, and we were runners up in the championship. So that was absolutely massive and gave me great confidence now coming into 2021. So yeah, getting a win in a GT race was huge, and getting to start my first race as well, which was really intimidating, and a rolling start. So everyone's, everyone kind of takes off together. So it was a very cool year.
Yeah, and you often team up with Sean Doyle. How important is that kind of working relationship and be able to work together, I suppose?
Yeah, so generally within a team, your teammate is your rival, but an endurance racing, your teammate wants to win as much as you do, and you have to work together. I knew Sean. I did a race with Sean before in Ireland, so I knew him before I ever got started. But he has so much experience in GT race, and he raced in Europe as well. So it's great to have someone that has much more experience, and just to learn as much as you can. We got to share the data within the car, and see what points I needed to work on myself, and it was great. And yeah, as I said, I knew him beforehand, so it was I didn't have to get to know this person that I was going to be teaming up with during the year. But yeah, it's incredibly important that you work together. If you don't work together, you're not going to get anywhere.
So looking forward then to 2021, what's next for yourself? What do you have on your list to tick off?
I suppose this year I'd love to stick with the Porsche, because it took me the year to learn it, and learn the characteristics and how it behaves, and I think I have a really good grasp of what it's like now. So if I can race that car again this year, that's the aim to do, and hopefully have more wins and maybe a championship if possible.
And maybe another F1 car. It's just one for every year at this point.
I'll keep it going now.
Keep the streak going. So that's brilliant, Nicole. Thanks for joining us, and we're all looking forward to see how you get on in 2021.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.